the death penalty and life imprisonment. Which is more humane? The question hung in the air like smoke after a fire. That single question began one of the most extraordinary bets ever made between two men. Welcome, dear listeners, to another episode of English Listening Through Stories. This is Prince, your English teacher and storyteller, and today I bring you one of the most powerful and thought-provoking tales ever written, The Bet by Anton Chekhov. This isn't just a story about a wager, it's about life itself. Freedom, wisdom, loneliness, and the value of the human soul. So, find a quiet corner, take a deep breath, and let the words take you back to a night when pride and philosophy collided, and a simple argument changed two lives forever. Let's begin. The story. The story. The story.
It was a dark autumn evening. A wealthy banker was hosting a grand party, the kind filled with laughter, clinking glasses, and debates that burned brighter than the candles. Among the guests were clever men, scholars, journalists, and lawyers, and as the music faded, they began to argue about justice. They debated everything, from capital punishment to the value of human life. And then the conversation took a sharp turn. The banker, a proud man in his 40s, stood near the fireplace and said firmly, "I believe the death penalty is more moral, more humane, than life imprisonment. To kill a man at once is easier than to take away his life slowly, year after year, behind bars." Across the room, a young lawyer, no more than 25, spoke up. His voice was calm but filled with conviction. "I don't agree with you, sir. I think both are wrong, but if I had to choose, I would prefer life imprisonment." "Any life is better than no life at all," the guests murmured. Some laughed. But the banker felt challenged. "Would you really stay in prison, completely alone, for years, just to prove your point?" "Yes," the lawyer replied, "I would. Even for 15 years. The banker's pride flared. He laughed, a sharp, dangerous laugh. 15 years! Done! If you can stay in solitary confinement for 15 years, I'll pay you 2 million rubles. The lawyer accepted, shaking his hand without hesitation. The guests gasped. The bet was sealed. The first year, a small lodge was prepared in the banker's garden, guarded by watchmen. The lawyer was to stay there for 15 years, cut off from the world. He was allowed books, music, and letters, but no human contact. At first the young man felt lonely and restless. He played the piano, read novels, and wrote letters filled with longing for freedom. But as time passed, his spirit began to change. In the second year, he demanded only classic literature, Shakespeare, Byron, and the Bible. In the 5th year, he stopped playing music. His reading grew deep: science, philosophy, languages. He studied everything he could find. He learned 6 languages, read history and theology, and devoured the words of the greatest minds. He grew thin, pale, but wiser, far beyond his years. The passing years. Meanwhile, the banker's life began to fall apart. He had taken dangerous risks in the stock market, and by the end of the 10th year, he had lost most of his fortune. He often sat alone, thinking, "If he lives until the end, I'll have to pay him 2 million. That would ruin me." The thought haunted him. Outside in the garden, the lawyer kept reading, unaware of the storm building inside the banker's heart. The last night, the 15th year, was almost over. The lawyer's release was set for the next day. The banker couldn't sleep. The thought of losing his last bit of wealth terrified him. He whispered to himself, "What if I end it tonight? Then I won't have to pay." Quietly, like a thief, he took the key and went to the lodge. Inside, by the dim candlelight, he saw the prisoner, now an old man with long hair, sunken cheeks, and eyes that burned with strange wisdom. On the table lay a letter. The banker's hands trembled as he opened it. The lawyer written in the letter, "Tomorrow I will be free. But before I leave this world you call happiness, I wish to tell you why I renounce the 2 million you promised me. For 15 years I have studied life. I have read the wisdom of centuries. I have come to understand that your riches, your books, your wine, your pleasures, they are illusions. I despise your wealth, your fame, your comfort. I prefer to live like a beggar than to share in your shallow happiness. To prove it, I will leave my cell 5 hours before the time is up. You will lose your bet and keep your money. I don't need it." The banker read the words again and again, his eyes filling with tears. He placed the letter back on the table, kissed the lawyer's head softly, and left trembling. The next morning, the guards rushed to the banker's house. "Sir, the prisoner is gone. He escaped through the window." On the table, the letter remained, untouched, shining in the sunlight. The banker said nothing. He felt both relieved and broken. He locked the letter in his safe, a silent reminder of the man who had given up millions for truth. Years later, people still wondered who truly won that bet. The banker kept his money but lost his peace. The lawyer lost his youth but gained wisdom and freedom that no cage could take away, because in the end, real freedom isn't found in wealth or walls. It's found in the soul that desires nothing.
And that, dear listener, was The Bet, a story by Anton Chekhov that reminds us how fragile our values become when tested by time and solitude. What would you choose? A short life filled with pleasure, or a long life of quiet truth? There's no simple answer, only reflection. This is Prince. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and join me again for more stories that touch your heart and train your English ear. Until next time, keep learning, keep listening, and never stop seeking meaning beyond the noise of life. Good night, and keep your soul free.